2, 1, and go.
Welcome to the Autosportradio.com 2018 show. I'm your host, Don Kay. We are live from McGilvery Speedway, 30th and High School in the beautiful town of Speedway, Indiana. Should you come to Speedway for some reason or in the Indianapolis area, you got to come around Speedway, check it out, and of course you got to come to McGilvery's at 30th and High School. You'll love it. Great place. Tonight's show is presented as always by Honda and Honda HPD, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the Verizon IndyCar Series, and SVRA. I got to mention something. If anybody is lucky enough, as I am, that your computer fails on you or has a problem, I highly recommend Computer Overdrive. They're at Lyndhurst and Crawfordsville Road on the northeast corner. Jack can fix anything. His number is 317-328-0766. Give him a call. And if you're interested in drones, the back half of the store is all RC aircraft and drones. You want to get a drone and know how to use it, the guy will teach you. See Mark. And if you're looking to get all the update and information on what the IndyCar Series and the Mazda Road to Indy program is doing, you got to go to tracksideonline.com and subscribe. You'll get the PR from the teams, from the series. You'll find out everything that's going on, and when the two guys, Patrick and Steve, are on site, you'll get all the inside scoop. So if you want to find out what's going on, keep up to speed, tracksideonline.com and subscribe. The first race of the year, March 11th. In St. Petersburg, Florida. You got to be there. You got to go. It's going to be a great race. New cars, new drivers. Things are picking up. It's looking pretty good. So I want to make sure you get there. And if you don't, shame on you. Everybody can't wait to see their dentist. Strangely enough, we don't mind it. We go to the Indy Dental Group. Dr. Jack Miller and Dr. Liz Lewis have the finest practice we've ever seen. Make an appointment. Give them a call at 317-846-3125. How many of you went to the Speedway on Friday night for the 100th night prior to the Indianapolis 500? How many went besides me? That's it? You and I were the only ones there?
I guess so.
There's about 600 other people. There was free pizza, so Mike Smith showed up, and water, free. And it was an outstanding evening. A number of drivers were there. Kyle Kaiser, the 100th winner. What's his name? Stosh?
Rossi, I think.
Oh, yeah, that's his name. Alexander Rossi, Spencer Piggott. Elio was there.
Yeah, some guy named Castroneves.
Something like that.
Have you heard of him?
I know, not really. Anyway, if you missed it, it's too bad. It was a good night, a lot of fun, a lot of people there. And I heard through the grapevine that Jay Howard is going to be making a qualifying effort for the 500. So we'll see if that happens. It was announced today that Fleet Cost and Care has rejoined Rahal Linneman Landing and Racing will be the full sponsor on Graham's car at Texas, but they're an associate sponsor for the whole team, the whole season. It's great, and it was announced today. This is exciting. The entertainment for Legends Day, Sam Hunt. I don't know who he is.
Are you a country fan?
Well, no.
Oh, there you go.
But he's been nominated for a Grammy. He didn't win, but he's got some platinum records, I guess. I don't know. I know Blake Shelton. I don't know him, but I know who he is. My first guest tonight is a gentleman that I always enjoy having on because I like to bug him a little bit. He's in 2013 he joined Hulman Motorsports as chief of marketing, and he leads the combined teams at IndyCar and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in marketing, communications, and media. He spent some time in Japan, so he and I like to chat back and forth in Japanese a little bit. Konbanwa.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's good evening for Pete's sake. But I think assembled under him is a great group of people. Their PR department and their marketing department is sensational. I want to find out what's going on, how he keeps them awake all day. So I want you to please welcome Mr. C.J. O'Donnell. Is being involved in a sport better than marketing Fiats or Ford?
I did a little better than Fiat in my day.
Well, whatever.
Ford, yeah. Jaguar was pretty good too.
Good.
Now, I'd have to say it's this job versus those prior roles. It's a hell of a lot more fun, and I don't have to sit in an office all day long.
You don't?
Well, not when I'm at a racetrack.
Oh, well, that's true. But you're probably in a trailer.
Some of the time.
I see.
Yeah.
What is your main goal? You have a staff of some of the best media and PR people, I think, of any sport anywhere. But what is it they do? One of the things that I've objected to, because I get a lot of emails from people, what happened to IndyCar? Where are they? Are they all on vacation? Nothing comes out. And I said to Kurt, I haven't seen an email come out from IndyCar in quite some time. And he said, well, you can go to IndyCar.com. As dumb as I am, I get everything anyway. I never thought about it. So I start telling people, you want to find out what's going on, go to IndyCar.com. 99% of it will be there. But why don't you send an email out to everybody and say, so-and-so did this and that, and we're doing this. Go to IndyCar.com for full details.
We have to get you registered for IndyCar Nation, the fan club. And then
I'm in it. I'm in it.
You get an email every Wednesday.
Yeah.
Unless you turned it off.
No.
You might have clicked the wrong button.
No. I read that. But that's me. I mean, I get stuff anyway. And you're trying to get.
You might need to go back to your computer sponsor and see if you can address user error on the computer as well.
I know how to.
Sorry,
I
couldn't resist.
I know. Fiat. With your, I'm kind of disappointed in you, I have to say. With your years with Ford, why did Ford not want to provide an engine? Why did they not want to jump in? I heard they backed out sometime. Why?
That's a good question. I'd love to get inside their minds. There was a quote that Edsel Ford had provided soon after I started here that wasn't very flattering about IndyCar. I'd love to go back and ask him now if he's changed his mind 4 years later, because a lot's happened in those 4 years. And the fact that they're so committed to the sports car program right now might be a distraction and might be one reason, but there's a heck of a lot to look at today that they should be paying attention to, and I wish they did.
Well, do you have his email? Can you communicate with him?
I actually could, I guess. Yeah.
Why don't you ask him? Have you looked at us lately? We're moving up, buddy, and where you are isn't got that big an audience to begin with in comparison, I don't think. And I watch a 24-hour, but after a while you go, okay, I'll come back later. I've been there 3 times for 24 hours. And
I'd love to pick his brain. I don't know if I'm bold enough to pop an email in his box right now, but yeah.
Well, why? You think he'd be mad at you?
No, probably not.
Okay. I mean, you had nothing to do with the car that they named after him that really didn't do well. That's not your fault.
No, it's his fault.
How did you get into marketing and communications? When you went to college, is that what you aimed at? That's what you want? You wanted to be what you've done?
I wanted to be a race car driver.
Really?
Well, that was my secret gig, yeah.
That's right. I do remember seeing you out at Newcastle in a cart.
Yeah, I've done that a couple times. No, like a lot of young men, I guess. You want to be a left fielder for the Yankees, or you want to play football for the Pittsburgh Steelers, or you name the team or the sport. I thought I'd take a shot at being a race car driver. And somewhere along the way, my dad insisted I go to school. So I think that proved to be a pretty good idea, because I'm a hell of a lot faster on a computer than I am in a race car, apparently.
What was it you were aiming at? What kind of car did you want to drive? Sports cars?
I want to drive IndyCar.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind. That's where I wanted to be. I mean, I wanted to be at the Indy 500, and sooner or later I got there. It's just not the way I thought I'd get there.
Yeah, you're not driving there. You're standing, observing,
still
and writing.
On the sidelines, but I'm there. That's right.
Well, that's what counts. I've been here for over 50 years. And they haven't thrown me out yet, but don't say anything to Doug, because he just might.
So I'm going to do some bragging, though. I still got some skills. We did this celebrity go-karting challenge in Sonoma, or San Francisco, just before the Sonoma race. And it was a great event. It was on 9/11. It was a fundraiser to assist the Navy SEALs. So it was a SEALs Foundation. Perfect day for that, right? We had 8 IndyCar and lights drivers on 8 different teams, and they were sponsored by the people who were providing the charitable funds, wealthy people, I guess you'd say. And we had 8 athletes from across the Bay Area, which included Terrell Owens, members of the Giants, the San Francisco 49ers, etc. And it was pretty good. I got a chance to get in the cart and was running up against our guys. And at the end of practice, there were 2 drivers who were slower than this guy.
Really?
Yeah. And one of them was Alex Rossi, by the way. And by the end of the race, there was still one of those drivers that was slower than this guy. So I held my own that day.
Was Alexander after?
Yeah, I know. And I'm putting my bid out for a car for the race this year. So anybody want to sponsor, let me know.
Was Alexander ahead of you at the end of the race?
Alex was, but there was one Indy Lights driver who was ashamed by by my driving that day.
Has the team contacted you about getting in the car in his place?
Oh, hell no. They're a lot smarter than that.
Oh,
yeah.
I see. What goes on in a day-to-day basis? You got the social media that you deal with. You got the marketing. I guess my guest next week, Matt Mindrum, works with you, for you, under you. What does a day for you include when you got the marketing and sales and communication and the media? You can't possibly leave your office. I mean, you got all these people that say, "Hey, let's go."
I'm going back and forth on the track side and the IndyCar side on 16th Street all day long.
Yeah, I thought I saw you running across the street one day.
I'm losing weight too. I mean, it's funny how the job has seemingly been changed in the last 4 years that I've been there. It began with typical PR and event planning, appearances, driver appearances, things like that, pitching stories to media, and advertising, creating ads, placing ads, buying media. Those are things that you kind of assume that PR and marketing is. But the job now is, because of IndyCar.com and its growth, because of Facebook and Facebook Live and social media, we've become a content creation company. I mean, you might not know this, but we produced almost 2,900 videos last year from our team. So when you're putting out that much video content, you're trying to come up with a new idea, produce more and more. You become a film editor, you become a social media expert, you become all sorts of things that you never dreamed of when you first started the job.
Does IMS Production do the videos?
Some of them, a lot of them actually, especially when it's race highlights and cut downs of different video content from the weekend.
I still think, and it's amazing, I mean, as dumb as I am, when Phil B. was here, he said, it's on IndyCar.com. And Kurt said the same thing. You want to find out, go to, I never thought of it because I get everything anyway, so I don't think to go there. So we're
even starting to break stories on IndyCar.com. So we've got writers now for IndyCar.com that used to be former writers for Hearst or USA Today or a place like that. So, road and track people and other people. And, we broke the story about Danica on IndyCar.com. It was the first place it was published that I know of.
After her slip, you mean?
After her slip, yeah. I mean, it was certainly across social media, but I think we were the first written story.
Well,
and that was written by Brant James. I think you know Brant.
You need to have them send out the latest something or go to IndyCar.com. And so people get, I'm serious. I get all the time, what are you doing? Go to IndyCar. I never thought, I didn't either, and I'm here. What do you think is going to be the highlight of the coming season? What kind of stories are you looking? There's some new teams, there's some new drivers. I mean, there's a lot of new things going, and it's growing.
The newest thing is the new car. I think that's the changing story here. We put a ton of time, Jay and his team put a ton of time into preparing for the season, for getting that car ready, doing our own testing, and then letting the teams do testing. And that's going to, I think, be the big X factor in this coming season. It's going to make a better product on track. It's great to look at, of course, and I think the racing is going to be so much closer and so much more competitive than we've seen even in the past few years.
Well, I have a sneaking suspicion, although I'm not a race driver, so I don't know. But I got to think, it's one thing to test and practice and run it. But when the green flag drops down in St. Pete, I think there's going to be some cars on the sideline, a little rumpled.
Well, it's a harder car to drive.
Good.
Yeah, no, and you see them actually braking in the corners where they were flat out before. We saw that at Phoenix. I think they're going into turn one with about 20% throttle. Last year they were at 80% throttle, so they're coming way off the gas going into that corner. And that shows that it's going faster into the corner because the terminal speed, the top speed's now higher, there's less drag. But it also means they got to get on the binders, they got to slow it down, they got to navigate that corner, and they come back out again. So there's a lot more driving going on than there was before.
I know the drivers I've talked to said they love it. You're on the edge, you got to be careful because the back wants to let go on you once in a while, and they like it. But the only thing I've heard them say is we'd like a little more horsepower. God only knows why, but I don't drive them. That's why I don't know. Oh, geez, look at this. There's a guy who hasn't shaved in a month.
Yeah, the word I keep hearing is lively. The back end is lively,
Yeah.
is what Joseph Newgarden kept saying a few weeks ago. So I would think with more power it'd be more lively, but we'll see how they fare so far. with this package.
How have you managed to assemble the staff that you have? I mean, I think the media people, PR people that you have are second to none. I think they're some of the best in the business. I know Pat Caparelli is top of the line, Mark Robinson, who spent a lot of time with Firestone. Somehow you corralled Philip B. Wilson to write, and I had him here, and the first time he was here, he was falling all over and jumping up and down. This time he was very placid. Of course, he's married, so he's got to be a little careful. But you got some top-line people, really.
Well, yeah, some of it is you hire up front, you think they're going to fit the team, and of course they grow and develop and turn out like some of the people you work with every day. And then they bring other good people because they have contacts and networks and folks that they think would fit the team. And it's kind of been a collective effort, quite frankly. I can't take entire credit for it. Pat Caparelli came because I hired Mike Kitchell. And, these things just start to follow one after the other, and success breeds success. So we've gotten people's attention. We've become a place people want to work, and they're raising their hand and starting to get in line.
How many people are on the PR staff now?
I'd say it's 8.
8?
Yeah.
Ooh.
I've got roughly 40 people in total on both sides of the street.
Really?
Meaning IndyCar and IMS.
Yes.
Our offices are split, so both sides of 16th Street.
So you run back and forth because you work for Hulman Motorsports.
Correct, which is like a fictional entity, which is both the track and IndyCar. Right.
If you had your choice, if Mark came to you and said, "Look, we're going to have to do something here. You're going to have to take a choice: IndyCar or Speedway. Which one would you go with?"
I'd probably say IndyCar.
That's what I was going to say. If you didn't, I was going to be disappointed.
No, I'm sort of a series guy. I'm a St. Pete through Sonoma kind of guy, not just one weekend in the middle of the summer.
Do you get involved when they're putting the series together and they're getting dates? Are you involved in that part of the sport?
Yeah, I'm on the what they call the scheduling committee.
That's a clever name.
Yeah, it was original.
I hope they didn't spend a lot of money on that, but that's pretty clever.
We're going to trademark it.
Yeah. One of the big complaints has been the last few years, and I'm sure that Mark is aware of it. He's heard of it, certainly from me among others. Changing dates. I know Toronto had to change because they had some kind of event. They had to move it, but it used to be as they say in the day, the race was on the same weekend every year. So people made reservations and they go to Phoenix or they go, but they moved it and everything. Everybody said to hell with it, and they dropped it. So hopefully they'll stay the same dates year after year after year. And except something could happen like New Orleans track could sink. And they got to make changes, but hopefully they're going to stay with that.
Our sort of mantra has been consistency over both in date and in sequence, but also with the tracks that we're bringing into the series. It's been you've seen some jumps. Like last year we had to move Phoenix because of Easter, or we had to move it because of the Final Four. But those are one-off circumstances where you'll see something jump around and then it jumped back in place again this year where it was. So we have to adapt to the circumstances. Toronto had the Pan Am Games. That gave us a reason to kind of shuffle some things around. But these are speed bumps in the road, and we're just trying to stay as consistent and true to a regular schedule each year.
Strange question, I suppose. In Phoenix, you had a race schedule in the Final Four. I can't imagine. I'm a race fan. I wouldn't go to the Final Four. I'd come to the race. Why would you change because of that? Do you think basketball fans are saying, gosh, or race fans, oh, God, the Final Four's here? I would think they go to the race, but what do I know?
We're just not trying to make anybody choose. So there's probably a group of people who are hardcore racing fans and don't care about college basketball. There's probably a group that just love college basketball, and there's a group in the middle that like both. And we're not trying to make that market split its vote. It just dilutes both events.
Are you looking to increase? Would you like to get up to 20 events?
20 would be about the most I think we'd want to take on, to be honest with you. I mean, we have room to grow, and we have a couple holes in the calendar to fill that we'd like to fill for next year. But yeah, about 20 would be right.
Yeah, but the problem with that, when you say fill a hole, they seem to forget that there's a crew that makes everything happen. And the driver's off fishing or doing backstroke in a pool somewhere, and the crew's working. And they don't get to go home. So I know that they like a week off here and a week off there. But trouble is, like you've been gone 4 months or 5 months or 6 months, whatever it is, people think IndyCar's on vacation. So I know Mark said that he's looking at going, or you're looking at going to Mexico and the possibility of going to Australia as I don't know if the Mexican race would be on the calendar as a race. I mean, it seemed to me if you want to start early, can't you go down to Miami, Homestead?
It's possible. It's been discussed. It's not an active conversation right now, but it's an option. We prefer not to do that, not to pull anything away from the weight or the importance of St. Pete. Because I know they're opposite sides of the state, but people will cross back and forth to go to one or the other. We don't want to, again, much like the Final Four, have people have to make a choice between one or the other. But Mexico could fall in the middle of the season. It's North American. It's no different than, Mexico City's no different than Toronto in my mind. The other markets, China or Australia or Europe or, South America someplace, they're all places we'd like to go early in the season, before St. Pete, before the U.S.-based racing or the North American-based racing begins.
You think the teams and the crews are in for that? Start racing after the first of the year?
If they get paid well, they will.
Oh, I know. One of the things that was said.
That's an honest answer. And
yeah.
I mean, and let's be frank. One of the big attractions for this is that the international markets pay better. Our bottom line improves a lot, and then we share that with the teams, and theoretically, it lifts the sport overall. I mean, it would make my ad budget go up, so that's okay.
Well, I know when they were talking to China, I said, why in the world do you want to go there? Because, well, they didn't do it, but they said, you know how much money they pay us to come there? No, but obviously not enough because you're not there.
Yeah, no, it's like 10 or 12 times what we get paid for a race here in the U.S. It's hard not to look at it and not think what it could do for the growth of the sport throughout the whole year. So.
When you look at ratings, and sadly, I guess everyone found that the Daytona 500 ratings went down dramatically.
Yeah, they had some little thing going on in the background called the Olympics that might have hurt them a little bit.
I'm a race fan. I watch more of the race. I mean, I didn't watch that one. Unfortunately, I did watch it because stopping a race 2 or 3 times in the middle doesn't make any sense to me. So I hope the upper echelon isn't looking at that for IndyCar.
Oh no, we like our format. We're sticking with our format.
Good idea. The Speedway, it seems to me, in the marketing and sales department's got some hurdles to jump. I understand Pengrade Motor Oil is pulling out the end of the year or shifting or doing something. So I assume that Matt is pounding the pavement looking for a replacement. Are you guys, is the Speedway involved in looking for a title sponsor? Because Verizon's leaving at the end of the year as well.
So, you mentioned Hulman Motorsports before and how I handle the marketing side of that. There's a sales side to Hulman Motorsports, which is run by a gentleman by the name of Rod Davis. So Rod is the sales guy, if I'm the marketing side. And he's actively pursuing both the title sponsor for the Verizon IndyCar Series or to replace Verizon. And he's then, of course, working for replacement of sponsors at IMS and then, of course, some new ones, too.
Are they? Do you talk to him?
Daily, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're like Mutt and Jeff in the office.
I see.
The yin and yang and the whole thing.
Do you, or is he finding that the doors are opening easier when you come and the people know what the IndyCar Series is, that they understand, that you can show them, here's the growth we're doing over the last 5 years, in not only eyes but in butts and seats. Are they finding the doors opening easier?
Opening easier, yes. I wouldn't say easily.
No.
He's got a hard job, and we have a couple candidates already for title sponsor that he's been courting for the last few weeks. It's one of the reasons why we talk so often. I don't know where that's going to go quite yet, but he's well into it.
A change that I have noticed over the years. When I first came, a driver didn't have to go get money. The guy that owned the car had the money, and he paid the bills. It has now transferred where, over the last few years, where the driver's got to bring money. But that's starting to change a little bit. There's a number of drivers in cars that didn't bring money, that the team has taken care of it, and they hire the one they want. And also the Speedway never had a sponsor for years. They didn't want banners. They didn't want anything. It was just the Indianapolis 500. Obviously, the thinking has changed because to maintain that place is not cheap. But, it just seems to me that when I talk to sponsors or I talk to guys that are selling, it's not so much your name on the car, it's the networking that you can get from the paddock area, from the teams and other sponsors. You can get your product into their store and they can do it. It seems to me that's changed a little bit.
Well, a lot's changed. I mean, as you said, the sport's grown, our audience has grown. It's making it easier for teams to get sponsors, and they become less dependent on drivers bringing money. We're seeing sponsors come in, which helps us. We're seeing new teams come in, which also means that they have to find funding, and that's apparently happening, or they wouldn't be there either. So there's the water's rising, maybe a little more slowly than I'd like to see, but the progress is there. It's real, and it's why you have Carlin and a bunch of these other people showing up this year, to join the sport.
One of the people that I have coming next week is the Senior Vice President of Events for Hulman Motorsports. Allison will be here. And I'm dying to ask her the places she's been. She was president of Indianapolis Sports Council or something.
Yeah.
She was head of the Super Bowl committee. And of course, she had to know somebody get the weather she got, because if you were up in Minnesota, which I wasn't for the last Super Bowl, people were freezing to death up there, and everything was fine.
She's in charge of weather, officially.
I
I'm
imagine.
not kidding. In the office, if it's bad on race day, it's Allison's fault. If it's sunny on race day, it's Allison's fault. You can tell her I said that, too.
I will.
Okay.
And the other thing that impressed me about Happiness Speed, which not in your department, I don't think, is the snake pit. Boy, man, that from I think the first year of 6,000 people, it's in over almost 35,000 now that go there.
35,000 is exactly right.
And they hear guys that acts I've never heard of. I have not a clue who they
Don't
are.
feel bad about this. I don't know them either. So you're in good company on that one.
Or who books them? Is that her job to book them?
People that are a lot younger than you and I, that's for sure.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
Yeah.
Everybody's younger than me. Not so much you, but
Well, I'm getting there. I'm catching up to you.
No, you're not. I'm way ahead. You're not even close. What would you like to see next? What is the next step? Now, backing up a little bit, about, 9, 10, 11 years ago, I had Buddy McAtee, who was at IMS Production. He said, mark my word, within 5 years, network television will not be where sports, it will be on the internet. And he was right. It started shifting then, and it is now, and it's getting more and more. What would you like to see? What is it you want to see to improve what you do, or what your people can do, and what you bring to the series?
Well, and you know this because I was sitting over there looking at an email earlier. We're in the midst of negotiating our broadcast contract for 2019 and beyond, and that's taking up a lot of time, along with finding a title sponsor and everything else. Those discussions are going really well, which is nice to see. And I think that the big dynamic there, the factor that we're all trying to understand and plan for, is exactly what you mentioned, is that TV broadcast is still very important. It's probably our single best way to get exposure for the sport. But digital media, over the top, as they refer to these digital packages, is going to be a critical part of how we present the sport, particularly for young people. ESPN Plus and a lot of those digital delivery systems are going to become part of those contracts, and we're just trying to figure out how to plan for a future that is somewhat unknown and somewhat very new.
Are you talking to other providers other than NBC and ABC? Are you talking to other outlets with the possibility they want to jump on board?
We've had some pretty broad interest. I won't name any names at this point in time.
No, of course not.
There were more than the two that we know today, and some of them were 100% digital delivery, if you think about that space.
Well, now let's just see. You want to go to 100% digital. Can I get it on this thing?
No, but I know where to get you an upgrade. There's a Verizon store. It's just down the street. Literally just down the street.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah. I've been there, and I asked them a question. They didn't have the answer, so I said, well, that's nice.
We'll get you one of these.
Oh, boy. What I find amusing, when I go to the racetrack, and I will go up and sit in the stands and listen to what people say, the number of people, there's cars going on the track, and they're sitting watching it in their hand. I'm thinking, why don't you go sit in a bar? You can do that and drink beer. But that's where the world is today.
Well, that's it. I mean, what we have to be able to do and are doing now with our app is deliver, timing and scoring here, in-car camera here. So whether you're watching it on TV or whether you're watching it at the event, you've always got that as a second screen or as a support to follow your driver, to understand what's happening, to see views of the track that aren't on a big screen or aren't happening right in front of you. So, I mean, it's maybe sensory overload in some ways, but people want more than just what's in front of their eyes, from a couple of years ago.
I don't. I'm happy to sit in the grandstand. I don't usually, of course, but and listen. I love to listen to what people say. I love to get, when there's a group of people talking, I just stand there like I'm important or I belong. And after a while, they say, "Who are you?" "Oh, I'm sorry, I was thinking."
Eavesdropping.
Yeah, eavesdropping. But, it's interesting what people say. And I'm sure you guys get emails galore, comments on things. I'm sure IMS Production gets them by
all
the...
flattering, everyone.
Oh, I'm sure it is. Now, I will say something. I email you on occasion. Sometimes I go to you and Mark and Doug. And more times than not, you'll answer. Mark will answer usually very quickly. Doug does, but it might be a day or two later because he's somewhere and he doesn't know where he is. And he's always on the move, although he's scheduled to be here in April, as of now. You do respond. Now, I don't know how many hundreds and hundreds of emails you answer, but if I send one, you probably are looking at, oh, jeez, him again.
That's not true. That's why I answer them.
I see. But you do answer, and I appreciate that. And I not only comment on what I think something is amiss, I also comment when I think you've done a good job.
You've been helpful in your critical comments, which are always meant to be helpful, and then you praise people when things go right too. So I appreciate that.
And I also think the IMS Radio Network is doing a heck of a job. And you'll never guess who got that thing rolling.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Way back when the Indy Racing League started, the second or third race, and we got, with no announcement, no anything. I sat in the trailer. ABC would bring a trailer. It wasn't air conditioned, and they'd put a feed in. I had a guy come up from Birmingham, Alabama, with the equipment. I sat in the trailer watching the screen, and broadcast it on the internet. And the number of people that logged on, they went, "Holy Toledo!" And I won't tell you how it progressed from there, because I asked somebody, you guys want to do it? No, heck no. But when they found out we had 12.5 or 13 million that watched it, they said, well, we're going to make a change. I'm sure you are. But it was fun. I enjoyed it. It's hotter than hell in there sometimes, but there's something. The
glamour of sports, right?
Yeah. There's something about this sport, and I don't know what it is exactly, but I find the people that are in it are, top shelf. You don't hear the problems of beating their wives or their girlfriends or shooting their dog or any of that stuff. And in my mind, and I've said this 10,000 times, I think motorsport is the most team-oriented sport of any, because everybody's got to do their job, or whoever's behind the wheel can end up in serious trouble.
It's funny you say that. I look at my peers in other sports with the NBA or football or other places, and I don't want to pick any one of them specifically, but they do have issues with their athletes that the PR managers have to handle. And in 4 years, I've only gotten one middle-of-the-night phone call on an issue related to a driver, which really wasn't all that bad in the end. And we managed not to let it get out, but it wouldn't have been all that damaging anyway.
Did it get out?
No, it didn't. It stayed under the wraps, so to speak. But it was he had happened to just drink a little too much and decided to have a conversation with a police officer that wasn't productive for that moment.
Now, I will say this. When I first started coming here, there was a place outside the gate to the left called the White Way. And after practice and everything, after they got done discussing who got in whose way and arguing, they'd go over there. And that was quite an interesting place to go, but everybody sat around good. And the thing that always impressed me, you go to a race, there'd be a problem, the two drivers would get together, they get a 2x4 or something, and they'd settle it. They go to the motel the next morning, get up, and they're out switching parts, helping each other put their cars back together. I always found that kind of fascinating. But today it doesn't do that. The only thing they'd hit you with probably is a briefcase. Because the driver comes to the track, or a cell phone, yeah. That's why I don't want one.
It's a brick, right?
Well, the 102nd is upcoming. The kickoff 100 days away was Friday.
It is. It was.
Is the excitement, are the fans starting to knock on the door and say, here we come?
Yeah, in fact, they have been. Since we did renewals, we've been, and I'm pleased to say this, we've been up just a bit over the 101st, which means we're up again versus where we were in 2015. Now, of course, the 100th running was a bit of abnormality, as far as how popular it was. But if you drew a line between 14, 15, 17, and 18, it would look just like that, a straight line going forward. So the event's coming back into a realm where we're happy with the attendance levels and the interest in a national and international level, so that's fantastic. And it's just, it's been all good news.
Do you trace the international viewership?
Yes.
Is it climbing? Are drivers from England and Brazil and so forth, are they getting following?
Well, last year was especially interesting because we had some guy named Alonso come in and race. He was a Formula One driver, I'm told. But he did increase our interest in and amongst the European countries.
Oh, I'm sure.
Far. Yeah, I mean, it was a big lift. In fact, there was a day when he did his, it was almost like a rookie orientation program, but it was a day-long test that he did at the Speedway that we set up. And we live streamed that on Facebook and on our own IndyCar.com platforms. And there were 2 million unique viewers that watched that day. And about half of them were from Europe. So it lifted our presence in Europe in a way that we hadn't seen probably for many, many years. And then later we put Mark Miles on a plane with a couple of people, and he toured and visited with journalists and broadcasters in France and in Italy and England and other places to make hay when the sun shine. To make sure that with his presence that we got more attention, and we're selling our international TV package now at the same time we're selling our U.S. package, so it was opportunistic in a way to make sure we get the best dollar and the best partner in each of those countries for this year.
Well, I think hands down, I don't care what the ads on Fox said, we got the greatest drivers in the world. I disagree with that totally. They're all right, but I think, and again I've said this 1,000 times, that to win the IndyCar Series, you've got to be a versatile driver. You've got to drive on everything from a 3/4 mile speedway, 2.5 mile street road courses. To win the championship, you've got to be one of the best in the world, and I don't care what anybody says.
Fastest and most diverse series in the world.
Yeah, and you're a part of it.
Yeah, luckily.
Yeah. That's kind of neat.
It is kind of neat. I actually pinch myself every now and then.
Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to come here. I'm looking forward to hearing and seeing more things come out from your staff. And say, by the way, if you want the complete story, go to IndyCar.com.
Keep plugging that, please.
I'm trying.
Or download the IndyCar mobile app. Oh, that's right. You can't do that on your phone.
No.
Sorry. We'll get you there.
Yeah, right. Okay. I better grab Verizon before they leave. Maybe they'll give me one.
Yeah.
We'll have one laying around somewhere.
I'm going to see him tomorrow. I'll put a request in for you.
There you go. All right. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Good to see everybody here again.
The media coordinator for the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the IndyCar Series, Mr. C.J. O'Donnell. Thank you. Appreciate your time. My next two guests are on their way up. In the meantime, I will remind you that if you're looking for the best deal in town, you got to go to the country, and the country is Daleville. So if you want to see why the best is, you got to go see Sam Pierce Chevrolet. And you'll find when you buy a car from Sam, he doesn't stand behind you, he stands alongside you. Can you move this way a little bit? You take I-69 north to exit 35, go east 1 mile, and you won't miss him. He's on the right, Sam Pierce Chevrolet. If you'd like to take a ride and see why these guys like to drive these cars, you got to go to the IndyRacingExperience.com and look for a date that fits for you, and you can sign up online. And if you do that, in the promo box, put SJ1. You get a 50% discount. Or you can call 317-243-7171, talk to Shonda, book the date you want, and again, mention SJ1. Is it time to look for insurance for your home, your car, you got a commercial building? Go to VP Insurance like I've done. You get the best price, the best coverage, and you get people that'll pay attention and help you when you got a problem. Go to VP Insurance. Is located at 5004 West 16th Street in the beautiful town of Speedway. You can give Mike a call and set something up. Get a quote. You might be surprised. I was, and a lot of people have said, oh yeah, so was I. Number is 317-248-0070. That's VP Insurance, 317-248-0070. And if you're a vintage racing buff, you've got to subscribe to the Vintage Racing Quarterly. It's a great magazine, very well done, very professionally done, great. You go to svra.com and subscribe to that. And don't forget, if you're a vintage car fan, the next event for the SVRA will be at Road Atlanta on March 29th to the 31st. Oh, I take it back. March 1st to the 4th, they'll be at Sebring. March 1st to the 4th at Sebring. And if you're in that area, you want to see some beautiful cars, you got to go down there and check it out. My next guests are two gentlemen that I've talked to on occasion. Obviously, one got all dressed up to come here tonight, shaved and everything, got his fingernails clean. He is a former champion in Europe and did so well, he came here. He managed to get himself rides with a couple of teams. One of them, I think, name was Foyt. He got out of racing, retired from racing, and went to the East Coast, started a business. Didn't think that was a great idea. So he sold the business and came back here. He opened a sim shop, or whatever you call it, and I went up there to see him, and here he is on his hands and knees, laying the floor, putting up 2x4s, building the computers that he had. The whole thing, he did it all himself. Very impressive. Now he's got a thriving little business, and he and John have gotten together. We're going to find out what he's up to these days. I mean, I know one of the things that surprised me, but actually it didn't. So we'll find out. Please welcome Mr. Darren Manning.
Thank you, Don.
And sitting next to me is Tex. He is a former driver in USAC and kart. He started when the Javelins started to come out and running the road. He was there. He's been involved in motorsports almost his entire life, or probably his entire life, actually. He knows how to build a car. He knows how to fix a car. He knows how to set a car up. He knows everything, front to back, top to bottom. In fact, right now he's rebuilding Offie engines. He's got a couple that have been sitting for in excess of 30 years with water in them, and he's cleaning up the mess. This man is very interesting, and when I had him here before, a lot of people said, really? I didn't know he did that. We're going to find out what else he's doing. Please say hello to Mr. John Martin. Darren, my friend, your sim operation is going well. Well, say yes, don't just like this.
Yes. And it's growing now, thanks to John as well, you know. He's a man of many talents.
I understand that some of the teams now, like Pelfrey, is sending all their drivers up to work with you and use your equipment to help them be prepared for the season.
Yeah, I think like we've talked, you know, ever since I started building the place. One of my main priorities was to get the teams involved, to send their drivers to me and bring their engineers along and really see maybe there's something that we can all work together on, if you like, with the teams and the engineers, you know, helping the drivers not only with their driving techniques or learning tracks, but really the, you know, psychological side of it as well. Debriefing with engineers, really seeing, you know, because a lot of guys, they'll get in the car and, you know, I'll ask them a question, okay, what did you think you need to go faster with the car or whatever, or what were you doing, well, what were you thinking about when you were driving? And a lot of these teenagers, I get a blank look on their faces, you know, so, you know, working with teams like Pelfrey, they, like you said, they did a camp over the last weekend when they were doing pit fit training up with Jim Leo's place, and then coming to me, maybe some media training, and then going down to Sarah's Fisher places, you know, down in Speedway, and doing all sorts of things, just trying to make their team better, give them something else to offer.
How much can a kid learn by using a simulator? Say for St. Pete, for instance.
A lot. St. Pete's a difficult one. You know, laser scanning tracks is you know, time consuming, and the track needs to be there for a long period of time. So the temporary circuits are difficult to actually model. But yeah, there's a lot. I mean, I start off by seeing what level the driver's at. Even if he's coming back for a second day, if he was here yesterday and he's coming back in for another run today, I'll see if he's remembered what we were teaching him yesterday. John and I, we had two vintage guys for 2 days just recently, you know, and it was nearly starting afresh on the beginning of the second day. So you've got to always, you know, start afresh. And you know, I teach, you know, I had a philosophy of driving, you know, through my career that I kind of figured out by myself, and you know, I try to get that over to the drivers, like I was saying, on that when the drivers are talking about what they're thinking about, sometimes it's not very much, and sometimes it's way too much, you know. And I have a very specific, very simple way of kind of teaching them, and then we can go, you know, we can go bonkers from there. It's never ending, right? Why do you think Scott Dixon's still testing? He's still learning.
You know, it's interesting to me that, you know, somebody like John, who's been out of a car for quite a while, but he can put you in a car and tell you how to drive, because it hasn't changed that much. It's, you come in quicker, but you got to take the corners, I hope I'm right, at the same place you did. You just, how you get there, that's the trick today, because they're so much faster.
Well, the customers we had from Texas, the SVRA drivers, they thought they were about at the top of their game. After we got through with them,
well, very quickly after we got
they were so disappointed that they'd wasted the last 5 or 6 years of knowing what they didn't know, and now that they know how to learn to do things, they're anxious to come back. But they want to go home and put some telemetry on their car, so what we taught them, they know how to get there. But I just talked to one of them this afternoon, and he's really, really excited, and all of his buddies now is planning on coming to see us. But they say we got to come back and spend more time on it, because we was aiming to hang it up maybe in a couple of years, but he says now I see another 10 years of this because of all we didn't know. Now we know how to learn.
Do you ever forget, is driving a race car the method and so forth that you both probably, if you got in the same car, one of you get out and say, good grief, and the other one would say, that's pretty good. Does what you did, can this translate to today? Can you instruct a driver today to do what? Is it like riding a bicycle? 4
rounds meet the ground. They always did, and they always will. And it's just a matter of with techniques that he has, and he does the kind of the techniques in the driving side of it, and I do the techniques in the setup side of it. So we'll be going around there and we'll say stop. Yep. Now this is
we'll stop them corner by corner and say, did you see what you did wrong there? Right then, stop.
Now we can make a change in the car to see, so they understand what they were feeling and thought it was okay. And we make a change to make it better. Now they learn how to make a car better, and they know how to communicate to the engineer.
Yeah, and to your point, you know, with the way that I try to teach the drivers a very simple way, you know, I use that same philosophy when I'm driving a 66 Mustang at the Speedway as I did when I was, you know, driving a Formula One car or an IndyCar around a road course. That same philosophy, the same end goal, that same thing that I'm trying to achieve, the perfect lap, you know. But it's a philosophy and a something that they're trying to really achieve, but very simple, and you can apply that to a new track or a different car whenever you drive.
Yeah, that brings me back memories. Like I get ready to qualify here at the Speedway, and I would try to go to sleep, and I would start practicing mentally a lap, and I'd catch myself sometimes taking a whole hour to make one lap, a perfect lap in my mind. And you just keep doing it over and over. So when you get in the car and you put it on the floor, it's not new. You've mentally practiced it so long that it's just second nature.
How did you get it, John? You've been in almost all your life. You've been involved in motorsports and motors and cars. How did you get started in that, and how did you move from, if you worked on cars or built cars, move into racing? Or did you start off racing and it built from there?
Well, I started off, a friend of mine had a hot rod that he ran it called C Modified back in the early 60s. It had a Pontiac engine in it, and I worked at Pontiac Motors when I was 19 to 20 years old. I had my MD degree from General Motors. And he just happened to have this engine that every day I had to rebuild it, because we was running 14-to-1 compression with a standard piston, so you know how long that would last. So anyway, I thought this looks like fun. So I just happened to have a 63 Corvette. I thought, we'll make a race car out of it. And I did. In the second year, I was national champion, and that's where it went from that.
How did you get involved with javelins?
Well, in '67, a friend of mine that worked at American Motors in Kenosha, he kept saying, we have this little American Rambler. Would you come over? We can make an A sedan out of it and go racing. And I thought, I don't want much to do with a Nash, or a Rambler. And they make good they make good refrigerators, so I don't know about cars. So anyway, they finally talked me into it, and I said, how much does it weigh? And that perked up my ears a little bit, and I thought, well, I could make a really nice legal cheater out of this thing. So we had to run a spare tire in it to make it weigh enough and to get through tech. But we made a sedan out of it, and went out and just cleaned house. And won overall every time in the rain. We'd just run away. We could almost lap second place in the rain. But that, I went racing with American Motors before American Motors did. So when they went, Kaplan got the deal and they started doing the javelins, my name kept coming up. So they said, would you come to work for us? So I said, sure, but they already had Pete Revs and George Fulmer was their drivers.
I heard of them, yeah.
Yeah, and so I said, I will, but if this is the first empty seat I wanted, or I'm not going to build your cars. I'll stick to my Nash. So that was the deal, and it went on from there.
Did you ever run in Meadowdale outside Chicago?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Did a lot of testing there. Did a lot of brake testing with Kelsey Hayes there. The engineers they'd fly the engineers in, and that was before all the telemetry and stuff, so the engineer would have to sit there and record what he was seeing on the gauges, and he got motion sickness, so we had to stop every 3 or 4 laps to make puke stops because he'd get so sick. But yeah, did a lot of miles at that place.
I went to the first race, and if I'm not mistaken, Peter was there, Revson was there, Fulmer was there, and so was Roger Penske. Penske drove there. I mean, I just knew it was Roger Penske, and he's driving a car. I didn't realize he'd be what he is now, and I don't think he maybe did either at the time.
Yeah, what I loved about that track was the Monza wall.
Yeah.
And it's just, you couldn't go fast enough to when you hit that wall. It was everything. Your neck just went down in your body. It was a lot of fun to run the Monza wall.
I mentioned that your life has been dedicated to motorsports in all phases: building, setting up, driving. But now you're taking old Offenhauser engines that have been sitting in somebody's basement or garage or something for 30 years and nobody thought to drain the water out. I've seen them when you've opened them up. They're a mess.
Well, this particular one's a mess. In fact, Bill and I just got through. It struck water all the way through the block and out each end of it. I started picking it. It looked like a little white spot on it, and started picking at it. Pretty soon there was a hole about that big around in it. So I had to machine it out, and Billy welded it up, and I just finished machining it about 2 hours ago. So we saved it. It'll be a good motor.
But you can build motors. In the 60s and 70s, when you were at the Speedway, you didn't have Offie send you an engine. You guys, it was rebuilt, and I know I'd see you and Simon in the garages early in the morning taking care of stuff. They had guys that built the engines for them. It wasn't like today. You pay a lease and they bring you a new one every race.
No, every engine I run at the Speedway, I built myself. And then when I worked for Grant King and Jane and King, in fact, in the same engine room I'm working in right now, 40-some years ago, I built 26 Offenhausers that year because we run 3 cars and 3 500s and 2 engines for each car for the 500s plus the short track engines. So it's like deja vu all over again.
But you love it.
Yeah, it keeps me out of trouble, and the days are very short.
We got to keep him off the streets, remember? Look at this guy.
Now,
that reminds me. I just got, about an hour ago, I got the okay. So I do have a ride for the SVRA Pro-Am race.
I can't imagine Tony wouldn't want you back. That wouldn't even make any sense. I mean, that.
Yeah, Tony's he's all right. He's an all right guy.
Now, I heard something about you after seeing you crawling around on the floor, and I'm pestering you when you're building your playground up there. I understand you are now into building homes. That you said, geez, I did this. I did pretty good. I hadn't fallen down. Maybe I should start building houses. You're supposed to be a race driver, a mentor, a teacher.
Well, I have a wife. I have kids. I have bills. I'm obviously not busy enough. I need, well, that's what she thinks. So she says, go and flip some houses. Or maybe, no, was it me? I can't remember whether it was me saying she's not. I think it was she's not busy enough. She needs to go work.
So could she paint your house when you're done?
Yeah,
does she come up and paint?
Yeah, she comes down and she helps out. We just started flipping houses. Give us. I want lots of eggs for my lots of baskets for my eggs. Right, all my racing career ever since, similar to John, my whole life I had one basket for all my eggs, which was motor racing, right, and trying to be a professional driver and win the Indy 500s 5 to 6 times, maybe something like that, and I'll be fine on a beach for the rest of my life, like Dixon is right now, But he is on a beach right now in Fiji. You seen him?
Yeah.
Yeah, damn it, I hate him sometimes. No, I don't. I love you, Scott. He knows that. But so so now with the simulator business, it's not only drivers, not only professional, i.e., young drivers coming through the ranks. It's gentleman drivers that want to drive like in the SVRA stuff, which is like what John and I are doing. Corporate events, and Lauren, and I, we wanted to have her doing something else, and it wasn't something. I'm not terribly busy all the time. You saw what I can do with a hammer and a nail, so we said, let's have a go at this, and got a handyman that helps us out a little bit, but good old Jim, our handyman, and he can do the things that I can't do, and I just leave it when I go away. Lauren just comes back and it's painted, and we sell it, and hopefully make some money.
Good idea. Do you do a lot of corporate events up there? Do you have?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah. We try to do. It's not massive. One possibly 2 a month. I haven't really concentrated on that side of the business too much. I want to really push the pro side of it a lot. The teams, the drivers. I'm still working with Dalton Kellett in Indy Lights for Andretti Autosport. So that takes up a lot of my time, going to tracks, testing. We're down in Homestead this weekend for the official kind of spring training for lights, and then we'll start at St. Pete. So once that kind of, I'm hoping that things kind of cross over a little bit, you know what I mean? So, I don't have to go to the track so much, and the business, the house flipping and the simulator business takes over, so I can spend more time with the kids.
When is Dalton going to move up? He's been in Lights, this will be his third or fourth year?
Third year.
Third year. When is he?
Well, he's planning to do an IndyCar race or two before the end of the year.
Oh, really?
Finances. He's the biggest issue. It's a huge jump from Lights to IndyCar. Obviously, he's got to, if he wants to get a cheaper deal in IndyCar, he's got to win some races. Is what I'm telling him. So he's come close quite a few times on ovals. So he's got a couple of good teammates. Like last year he had Nico and Colton and Ryan Norman, and Nico's been, transplanted with Pato O'Ward, who's extremely fast. So yeah, it's going to be a tough year between the four of them, even though it might be a small field.
John, do you get contacted, or are you looking for young drivers to mentor? I mean, I know you worked for Bill Simpson with his boys, I think for 4 or 5 years. Are you looking to get more into that again now that you've got a place you can take them up to the simulator and break them in that way?
Well, yeah, the age range is 8 to 86 lame or crazy. We can run anybody on any kind of car on any racetrack they want to run, and the age, it can be from 8 years old to 80 years old. It doesn't make any difference. So if you want to get better, we can make you better.
I'm no good to start with.
Come on, we'll get you in, fella. I told you, I've got a crane in the back. You get a forklift in. We'll get you in.
Yeah, but you told me I also got to bring my own Vaseline so you can get me out again, too.
No, the way you do that, I've done that with drivers, too. You can't get out fast enough, just throw an M80 in there and light the fuse. They'll be out there really quick.
Do you find that the kids that come, that the parents are pushing them do they come to you and they want to drive, and the parents just stand back and let you do your job, or are they in your ear saying, my kid can do better than that?
No, that I kind of got rid of that a long time ago with Bill Simpson and his boys. I had a lot of practice on how to make that happen. So, no, it's not an issue. The parents is, and
there's a door on the simulator. Remember?
Yeah. There's a door in the simulator, and there's a glass they can look through.
Yeah.
So it's not an issue at all. But it's excellent training, and it's a way to make people know more than they know, and they start realizing they don't know what they don't know yet. So the more they figure that out, the more they can learn. And this guy is excellent on that. He can explain stuff 40 ways to none. And then, of course, I'll say, stop. Okay, let's change his car. That don't look quite good, so we'll change the car or whatever. So that's the part that he's really great at, is getting into their heads on that, and I get into their heads on the other side of making the car work for them.
By doing, you change the setup on the car, you go, whoop, stop, here's the problem, here's what's happening, here's why. Do they understand when they get into a real car that they can tell the engineer, here's the problem, here's what you might want to look at?
Well, they've been running the car for 3 or 4 years, and they think this is it, it's the best there is, and after the simulator, they realize that car hasn't been right all this time. And so now they're excited, so they can drive much better than they ever thought they could, because now they know how to learn and set up the car at the same time.
I'm going to ask you a stupid question, but I already know the answer. Are you having fun with this? Do you still, at your heart, you can't wait for the next day, because we're going to go out and have something to do with a race car, with a race engine, something?
Yeah, it's nice to get up every day going to go do something that you love to do. And actually, I haven't worked since 1966 because I love what I'm doing, or I'm not doing it.
You should have seen him when he's here. We couldn't stop, really, could we? It was just like we were at the racetrack. John goes to the racetrack as well with these guys sometimes, and says, "What the hell are you doing with this tire pressures?" Or you can see from a mile off what the car's doing just by looking at how the tread on the tire's wearing, or whatever he does. Remember, I'm a driver. I didn't do any of that.
Well, I haven't taught him the art of smelling tires and looking at scuff angles and all that.
I got to get that on the simulator, the smell of the tires. All right, I'll work on that,
I'll
John.
bring him in an old tire and let him smell it.
Somebody burn it in the background or something.
People are laughing when you're saying that, but you do that. You can tell.
I do it. I've been accused of kissing a tire. I'm not kissing it. I'm just smelling the thing. And then I'm looking at it, and what are you looking at? They don't say anything. I'm looking at the grain on the tire, and all they see is a piece of rubber. And I said, "Did you ever look at a piece of art that there's nothing there, but if you look at it long enough, all of a sudden you see a figure in it?" That's sort of like that's the art of reading tires.
And believe it or not, you could read as well, I think, in your day, and Simon was the same way, as good as a computer. I mean, they got a computer telling them something, but you can look at a tire and listen to the driver and look at the tire, and if he tells you what the tire's telling you, you're on the same page.
Well, that's true too, and also you can go steal setups. If anybody in the pit lanes are dumb enough to leave their tires in stacks without a cover over it, you can just say, "Okay, that guy's going quick. I'll go read his tires right quick." That'll pretty well tell you what the car's doing. So it's these are art to all that stuff.
The only problem you have is with that hat, everybody knows who you are and where you are.
Yeah.
Hey, he's sniffing our tires. Wait a minute. Darren, did you plan when your racing career, were you aiming to come to America and run? Was that, because you won quite a few titles over in Europe, all over the place.
It wasn't the number one plan. Number one plan was Formula One, and I'd given up my life to get there. But as I was coming up the ladder, IndyCar, I remember, every Sunday night staying up late to watch better racing than Formula One. It really was. Zanardi, bouncing through the corkscrew, overtaking Herder or whatever it was. It was much more exciting than Formula One, where, Prost or Senna was just buggering off into the distance and destroying everybody just like now, right? So I loved Formula One. The technology, the best of the best, the engineering of the engineering art of everything can be better. It taught me a lot just being involved with it, on a personal level for a couple of years. Being not satisfied with anything ever. Every button, every wire, every computer part, nut bolt can be lighter, faster, stronger every year. But it was always America was IndyCar was always where the racing was. I loved IndyCar, my family loved IndyCar, but, whenever I came knocking on the door of everybody, like me and my manager did, it was like, yeah, you're probably going to be all right on road courses, you're a European guy, you're winning this, that, and the other, you're going to be fine, but, well, if you get on an oval, I'm not quite sure how you're going to do. They've had bad experiences, I guess, of Euros coming over and wrecking cars or whatever, I don't know.
I got news for you. Guys that have run ovals all their life wreck cars on occasion. And it's funny, the guys that have come to Europe, when Eliseo Salazar came up, and he walked in, I said, "You ever run in an oval?" He said, "No." I said, "Boy, are you in for a thrill?" And all of them have said they're scared when they get in, but after you get comfortable with it, it's not that bad. It's like a road course, like Speedway. They say, a lot of them say it's like a road course.
It's just fast corner. I treated it just like high-speed corners, like cops. The first half of Silverstone Circuit is super high-speed corners that you flat out in 6th gear, and you've got a setup that's, level. You've got no help from banking or setup that's helping the thing turn. You've got to man up and, try and take those corners flat. So I remember that Rockingham race that was my first oval race for Team St. George that was run by Dale Coyne that got me kind of the break into, the oval experience that I needed. And Dario was behind me in the race apparently one time, and we were going into turn 2, and coming out of the corner, he was nowhere to be seen behind me, and he says, "What?" I said, "What happened during the race?" He says, "Well, you got all sideways. I thought you were going to wreck." I said, "What? I just got sideways. What's the problem?" Well, I was just wheeling it around there, like giving it all big darkies and everything. It was like no problem. It was just a fast corner. Oversteer on an oval, who cares, right? Let's just go.
Yeah, that was good practice. Silverstone was a track that I trained the Simpson boys a lot there.
It's fast.
And when we started running it, and then we came in after the first day, and I said, "Okay, every corner there, whatever gear you're in, tomorrow you're going to be in the next gear up, flat-footed." Yeah. And they didn't believe it at first, but it's a fact. You could go through spots.
It was fast track.
The S is going in down the front straightaway. That's basically an accident that you have control of, and it's left, right, and it's you go through there in 5th gear flat out. It's amazing.
How long did it take you to get used to an oval?
Never. Never. You just never, right? Okay, it was kind of okay, race trim or whatever, but those 4 laps of I tell everybody, right? The scariest time of my life is qualifying attempts at Indy. The 2 or 3 minutes there where you especially when you got AJ Foyt leaning on your front suspension saying, "Yeah, this will be all right, go on." Out you go, you don't know what you got, and you got to go flat the whole way around. It's so you're never going to get used to it.
What was it like driving for AJ?
It was awesome. I love seeing him still there out in his golf cart and stuff, and still coming to the races, and I still hear horror stories of him telling him how to engineer it like he did in 1969 in the Porsche something or other at Le Mans or whatever. Telling stories like he could still drive the things faster than Canan probably now. I can hear it. Matheus Leis, this young Brazilian kid with all his hair. AJ's having a field day, I bet, right now.
Sure.
But no, it was so much fun. I love Larry, the whole team. My engineer Mike Oliver from my 2nd year with him is still there now, and we talk on a regular basis. So, I wish them all the best. It's they need it.
Well, yeah, but they look like they're making headway because AJ has said, "I'm tired of being in 10th. That's not what I'm here for."
Well, that's what he said when I was around, but he didn't give me tire pressure sensors or load cells or throwing computers around when we ran out of fuel. Yeah.
You mean he didn't use the hammer on the computer?
No, he used the hammer a few times. Doing shocks on the bench and all this kind of stuff. Like, that'll do, get that on there. Literally.
John, do you go to any of the SVRA events other than here? I mean, do you go to when they run out in the West Coast? Or
yeah, I went to the last one in Texas. In fact, that's where two of the guys come up to go to the
Yeah, and hopefully we'll do more as well, won't we?
Yeah, we'll do a lot more, I'm sure, there, because they're so excited. They're just yelling down there in Texas right now. But the SVRA is an excellent bunch of cars, excellent bunch of people, and Tony is second to none of making things happen. And now they're running the Trans Am series with it, and then I'm sure he'll tune that up. And I think it's going to be a great event this year. I'm really looking forward to it at Indy.
Well, I got to think he would be all in favor of having his drivers contact you guys and work with you so you could help them.
Yes, and then my intent is to get Tony over there in the simulator and show him what he's missing.
I don't know what it is about motorsports, but I think in my mind it's the best sport going. It's a great team sport, and just the people involved in it. I mean, I've known you for many years. I've known you since you've been here. And again, I'll contact these guys, and they're silly enough they contact me back, which is how I got them here. Of course, it took a while to find you.
Sometimes to me.
Yeah, sure. He had to tell you to get on the phone.
Literally was. Literally was. John saying, call Don back.
How many days a week are you up there? If somebody wanted to come up, and I see there's a guy that's a simulator crackerjack back here, he's talked about going. Are you there every day, or what days are you there?
Not every day. Again, like I was saying, like with Dalton, like I'm away on Thursday down to Homestead till Monday night at midnight or whenever I get back. So my schedule's a bit up and down, but I'm always around. I live here, and I'm only 10 minutes away from the simulator. If I'm not there,
you're pounding nails down in Greenwood.
Something like that. Yeah, painting.
Oh well, listen. John, I always enjoy having you as a guest. The stuff that you've done and accomplished is absolutely amazing. And people say, wow, I didn't know he did that. He's done everything.
I can also adjust the clutch on the semi or rebuild that engine too. Whatever you need done, I can do. Or if you need the brakes adjusted or tire changed or axle changed or whatever.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
I don't know how to drive one. So that's
we can teach you that too.
That's what I knew that was coming. Well,
we'll teach you how to drive that double E flat-footed.
Yeah, right.
Truck. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for your time, both of you. Darren, good luck with your building. I just bought a house. So otherwise, I'd probably talk to you about buying one. But I don't want to go to Greenwood.
I'll build anywhere.
Yeah, sure.
We'll teach anybody. Build anywhere. Any size, any place, anywhere.
But keep the simulator business growing. I think that's kind of neat, and I think you guys are going to be very busy with that. That's going to take off. I'll bet you Tony's going to get people, especially if you get him here. And he tells me he's here a lot. He comes up quite frequently.
Yeah,
and I'll get him here, and once he says he's here, I'll let you know he's in town. Get him, sick him.
It's in our plan. Okay. And keep an eye out for my guy Dalton as well. I think you've had him on here, haven't you, before?
I think I had him once, yeah.
Yeah.
You got him so busy, he can't get away. Where does he live?
He lives downtown.
Oh, he lives here in town now.
He lives downtown. So once he wins first race, St. Pete, you can have him on here Tuesday
I'll
after.
get him. It's not a problem.
Luck,
we'll
thanks.
talk about you. Tell him how good you are, or maybe not. All right, thanks for being here.
Anyway, before I go,
Yes.
I'd like to say something that probably people hasn't heard for a long time. And it is a new track record.
Do you say that in the simulator when they're good?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Do you have times up so that they can try and beat the quickest time?
Sometimes we have times up. It depends how much concentration they've got. If they're freaking out, we try to take everything away from them.
Yeah, if they're trying harder and going slower, we don't necessarily show them the numbers.
It's a good idea. Thanks for being here. John Martin, Darren Manning.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Next week, my guests are the president of competition and operations for the IndyCar Series, Mr. Jay Fry, will be here. Also joining him will be the vice president of marketing for the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Mr. Matt Mindrum. And joining him will be the executive vice president of Hulman and Company for events, Miss Allison Meglinton will be here. So come on and join us next week. We should have a good program. I've got a lot of questions for Jay, and I'm sure he'll answer them. Until next week, Gesundheit. Oh, for Pete's sake. You want attention. I have some Firestone stuff up here, shirts and some hats, and some of the hats are autographed, but the one who autographed it, the name is inside the hat. I got a couple shirts. Help yourself. They're here for free. Get them. Till next week, Don Kay saying good night. Are you driving a car? You're leaving? Look inside the hat. Look inside the hat.